Hey everybody, welcome to another tool for YA. Happy New Year to everyone. We're excited to be back with you this week. For this week's episode, we'll be discussing chapters 1 through 5 of You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at never2 old for YA. This podcast is streaming on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Facebook.
Hey, Kels.
Hey, Mel.
First of all, I have had my eye on this book for a while, and I had pre-ordered it. I was excited for this book, honestly. The same author that wrote this book also wrote One of Us is Lying, and I love that book. Like, I read it in 2 days, couldn't put it down. I was excited to pick up this book, and so far, it has not disappointed me. But I have been seeing other, book talkers and book Instagrammers that are saying that they didn't like it. And so that's making me a little wary. Am I going to? Am I not going to? I'm trying not to let it influence me, but I don't know.
For me, I can't really tell yet if I'm going to like it or not, because we just now got to a part with some action. But yeah, all of it pretty much has just been exposition and character development up to this point, pretty much, until you get to about chapter 5. It was kind of a slow start for me. I had trouble getting through the first chapter or two. So it takes place in Massachusetts, and it opens with Ivy's mom calling her on Skype and talking to her about this checklist that she made her for while Ivy's mom and dad are in California on vacation for their anniversary. And it just really was super dull. I see that it was setting up the point for Ivy's mom winning an award later that night, and they're trying to get back from California in time to go to the award ceremony so that she can deliver her acceptance speech. And Ivy's also supposed to give a speech, introducing her mom. It just really opened really slowly, and I had a really tough time, and I feel like it's really taking a while to get somewhere good, and then now it finally started amping up, and then we stopped reading. So I'm looking forward to reading from this point on, seeing what happens. But yeah, I'm not crazy about it so far.
See, and I really liked it. Let me tell you why. So when I was reading the other book, One of Us is Lying, this kind of happened as well, where the character development was so much a part of the so there was so much character development in the first part of the book that you didn't need to know anything else from this character. You just she took this chunk, and then the rest you're just going to read everything else. I'm sorry, I sound really congested. I can hear myself.
Yeah, you're kind of sick, huh?
Yeah.
So she sounds like crap, that's why.
Sorry. Dang it. Why'd you rat me out like that? Anyways, yes, I'm sick, so I apologize. I like her writing style is she puts everything you need to know about the character in the front so that the whole rest of the book is just action, action, action. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. See, I was trying to get Kelsey to read One of Us is Lying, and I almost got Amber to read it. We're trying really hard to get her to read it. Actually, I'm trying really hard to get her to read it. But it's a really good book. So Peacock has a show on their streaming service for One of Us is Lying. That's a whole nother subject, but I hate it. Anyways, back to You'll Be the Death of Me. I really enjoyed the first half because I got so much of what I needed. And I get what you're saying, Kels. At some point with Ivy, it was too much, but Ivy has a lot to do with this triangle. Everyone's intertwined. And I think that's why we needed all that, is because it came up later and how they all fit together. Not only were they friends, but they also, their parents and their lives, the way they were all connected. So what I got out of that is that their bond is going to be a little intense, only because Ivy's father is So he got into a business where he starts flipping businesses and stuff and houses. And what happened was Mateo's mom's bowling alley got into some financial trouble and had to sell her business, and Ivy's dad bought it and flipped it. And so that's how she's connected to Mateo. And Cal's father also works with Ivy's mother. So it all set up to be like, this is how they're connected. This is what you might see, how their relationship's going to go, because they hadn't talked to each other since the 8th grade. And now they decided to ditch class for that one day together, and then like everything goes crazy. Their whole lives change at this point.
They had been friends from like about 6th grade to 8th grade, and then 8th grade they just kind of drifted apart and like just didn't hang out anymore. Like nothing super dramatic happened or anything. Like there was no falling out or anything like that. They just kind of drifted apart like kids do as they're going into high school and stuff. So in 6th grade they went on a field trip, and the three of them decided to skip out on the presentation or whatever at where the field trip was happening. And they actually went outside and ended up stumbling upon a parade that was celebrating like the Red Sox winning a championship. So they got into that and like just wandered around Boston for a couple of hours, and then went back to where the field trip was at, and like nobody even realized they had been gone. So, but they all bonded over that day, like, you know, skipping the field trip that day, and then they were friends ever since then, until 8th grade when they kind of drifted apart. And now it's kind of cool that they're like reuniting kind of by chance to skip school again all together. And like I like that parallel there of like, you know, doing the same thing again, but this time it seems like it's just going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah, me too. I like that part. But also, we find out that Ivy had a huge crush on Mateo, and they ended up kissing, and she thinks that that was what ended their friendship.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if it was too or not.
Yeah, because they all kind of blame themselves.
Yeah, it is interesting how they all kind of blame themselves for what happened. But really, to me as a reader, like from hearing them describe it all, it seems like one of those things that was really nobody's fault, but they're all finding fault within themselves for why it happened.
Yeah, that was interesting to me because I don't know. Okay, like friends do, they drift apart. Like I get it, but for some reason, it's different when one friend likes the other friend, because then there's a vibe, right? There's a vibe, you can't really tell what it is, but you want to get away from it because it's just killing the mood, or you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes things super awkward when somebody feels a certain way and then it's not reciprocated, and you're really close friends, but like it just doesn't.
Right. But I want to go back to Mateo actually, because we did get a lot of character development for him and Ivy. But with Mateo, he has Autumn, who is his sister slash cousin, because she's got a whole backstory that her parents died in a car crash when she was younger. So they've been living together for 7 years. So they kind of grew up together and they're 18. And we were left with a little question. I don't know if it intrigued you or made you curious, Kels, that Autumn's talking to some guy. Okay, Autumn has a boyfriend, but also she gets a text message or a call, I can't remember, from a guy. And Mateo's like, really, you're still doing that? Like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. And I'm like, doing what? Doing what?
But yeah, I thought that was really weird too. How she gets the call from that guy and he's like, "Oh, aren't you gonna answer or whatever?" And she's like, "No, just don't worry about it. Like, the less you know, the better." And then he asks her, "Are you gonna make extra stops tonight?" Because she has a job. I guess she sharpens knives at restaurants.
I didn't get it either.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yes. Who says, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. to make this woman interesting, she's going to drive a van around and sharpen knives for random businesses. Who thought of that? Karen, please help me out here. What happened there?
Yeah, that was super weird. So, anyways, Autumn has to go and, like, I guess make different stops at different businesses to do her job or whatever. And Mateo asked her, "Are you gonna make extra stops tonight?" And she was like, "Yeah, like, just don't worry about it." And that was super weird to me. I'm like, extra stops for what? What are you doing?
That's what made me think she's a prostitute. I mean, come on. She does extra stops. She's got this random guy calling her. She's already in a van. Like, come on.
I was thinking that she probably just like sells weed or something.
We're so different. Oh my God. I don't know why I think of that every time, but whatever. Yeah, so that was interesting to me, especially because Mateo's mom can't work anymore. So it's just them two working to hold down the house. And his mother's medication is very expensive. And then all of a sudden, Autumn said, no, she came up with this lie that they changed to the generic brand of her medication and gave her the money back. And it was something absurd, like $400, Kels?
$480. So from what I understood, Mateo's mom had given Autumn $500 to pay for her medication. And then Autumn comes back and gives her $480 back, saying, "Oh, they have a new generic brand that's only $20." Like, who's gonna believe that?
Yeah. And then Mateo had something to say about it too. He's like, oh, my mom kind of knows when people are lying, like it's her superpower. And I'm like, okay, so she obviously knows what's going on and just doesn't say anything about it. She probably doesn't know like what exactly is going on, but she knows that what she's telling her isn't true. And so I'm like, what's going on here? Like, somebody say something. But yeah, I really liked that little cliffhanger because I was like, the whole time I was like, tell me, like, what is it? And then the chapter ended. I'm like, oh, the thing that I want to nitpick at is the fact that we got so much of what Ivy's life is and how much of a golden child she strives to be, and like her parents are like picture perfect, and she feels this responsibility to be that because her brother is so smart and skipped a grade, so she's trying to like be what her parents want her to be. And Mateo's kind of opposite and is like really trying to help his mom and trying to adjust to life without the bowling alley, and they're all just trying to stay afloat. And it's pretty different, you know, yin and yang on that part. But I feel like I didn't get that much for Cal.
I feel like Cal's character wasn't really written out well. Like, we don't get enough of a backstory for him. So I'm hoping that we'll find out more about him along the way. Because right now, really all we know is that he just broke up with a girl, or she broke up with him, and she was like, "Oh, you're not yourself anymore. Like, you're like a shell of yourself." But we didn't really get any like idea of, okay, well, how did he used to be? Like, what's really different? It's just she's saying he's different, and we can't really say one way or the other if he is or not, because we don't know how he used to be. He seems like kind of a ladies' man, I guess, like, because he's already like kind of dating somebody else right now, and he literally got dumped like a week ago, I think, if I understood that correctly.
He called himself a serial dater. So I don't think he's a ladies' man. I think he just has a fear of being alone and he doesn't want to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I did read something that also interested me with Cal. So we get to the point in the story where the drama starts to hit. Okay, we're on chapter 5, but let me go back. I know we're going in a circle. I apologize. There was just so much to talk about today. So in the beginning, we see that Ivy ran for class president. And she lost to this like stupid jock Mahoney or Boney Mahoney or whatever the heck. I don't know his real name. I didn't care. But he won over her, and he was supposed to be giving his acceptance speech at school. And when they all ditched, she's like, wait a minute, like there's why is he here? And they're like way across town, you guys. Like no one should be there. Why would he be there? He has to make his acceptance speech. He never showed up. So she's looking at him like she's upset that he won. Then she's upset that he didn't show up to give his acceptance speech, because then she would be president, right? So she chases this man down, like they're following him, and she's pissed. Well, they end up at the same building that Carl recognizes as his ex-girlfriend's studio because she's an artist. But Cal said something very interesting because Ivy asked him for the code. She goes into the building and they all find out that Ivy's father bought the building and there's squatters in there. And she's like, my dad wouldn't like this. And, just being annoying. And Cal goes, oh, well, we can't stay out here because I forgot his ex-girlfriend's name. So Cal's ex-girlfriend is there at like 10 o'clock every day to paint or whatever. So they're there around that time and he's getting paranoid. Like, she's going to see us. Like, I can't be here. And he's a little too paranoid to be running into an ex. Like, if he's with two other friends, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And so he tells Mateo, like, oh, I can't be seen with you guys. And I was like, why? Why would that affect you in any way? Like, what have you told this girl about these two that you couldn't be in the same area with all three of them? You know what I mean? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that didn't really make sense to me either. I was kind of wondering why too, and hopefully we'll find that out as we read more. I'm hoping, I mean, it's hard to say because we pretty much just started, but I'm really hoping that this book isn't one of those books that like has you asking a lot of questions and then leaves a lot of them unanswered by the end of the book, because that's really going to piss me off if it is.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I know. Tell the listeners what happens once they go into the building.
Ivy goes into the building first, and then Mateo and Cal follow her. And when they get inside, there's like two different staircases going up. Mateo is just trying to find out where Ivy is at. She sounds scared when she's talking to him. Like, he's kind of like calling out to her, like, hey, where are you? Like, trying to meet up with her or whatever. And she's like, I don't really know. Like, and then he's like, well, okay, well, what floor are you on? Like, is everything all right? And she's like, I don't know. I think so. Like, I don't know what floor I'm on. And it just was really weird to me how, like, everything seemed fine. And then they get into the building and everything's super weird. So anyway, they end up finding Ivy, and she's standing outside the doorway of one of the studios that is still being used, even though they're not supposed to be. And they can see like this other person laying there. Like, they go into the room and they see this other person laying there with just purple shoes on. Like, all they can see is purple shoes. Well, and a syringe of like something. So they're thinking that somebody in here probably OD'd or whatever and like passed out or died, or probably died. Because there's no like response or anything. Ivy passes out because she's so afraid of needles. Like, she faints at the sight of needles all the time. And then Cal and Mateo hear sirens in the distance and they keep getting closer and closer, and then they realize, oh crap, it's the cops coming. But how would they have known to come? Like, wondering if Ivy called the cops or whatever, but they can't ask her because she's still passed out. And Mateo is like freaking out because like they're gonna have to carry Ivy down the stairs and everything and try to get out before the cops come, because that's what they're debating when we left off in the book is, do we stay put and just tell the cops, hey, like, this is all we saw, like, and like how helpful would that really be? Or do they kind of try to save themselves some trouble and just like get out before the cops come? Like, the cops are there basically already, so they're like, oh crap, like it's too late to leave now. So it seems like they're going to be stuck there having to answer to the cops.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but we last saw Ivy walk into the building after Mahoney, and then she finds some random dead person. So where's Mahoney? Because all of them are like thinking to themselves, did anyone see his shoes? Like, could this be him? Like, because they can't see him or her, or we don't know if it's a male or female. So it's just very much a cliffhanger, and I had to stop myself from reading more. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you know what, Kelsey, screw it. I'm going to read the whole book. And I was like, I'm going to shut my mouth every time something else is going to come out, or you're going to have to edit it out, because I was like, no, I have to read more. So what I did is I picked a physical book out of my little library bookshelf here. And I was like, I'm going to read this at the same time, because if I do not, I will end up reading the rest of this book by myself.
One thing though that I gotta ask for clarification on, because I couldn't really picture it accurately in my mind, I don't think. Like I wasn't really understanding how it went, was how can they only see this person's shoes and the syringe? Like I didn't understand what was blocking their view from the rest of the person or anything else like in the room.
I thought they were in between another doorway. So like depending on the angle of the window, the position of the body, if they were inside of a room coming out or going into a room, they could have just slumped over, because it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So depending on what side of the building they're on, the sun is hitting on the other side. You know what I mean? So it could, I'm trying to figure that out too. But basically they said they just see the shoes. So what I'm thinking is, you walk into the front door, picture yourself walking into the front door, down the hall, like down, okay, straight ahead, you're in the living room. Let's say there's a door to the left, the right, and the kitchen in front. I'm picturing like the bedroom to the left.
Wait, I don't think these are apartments though.
No, I know, but like a studio still has doors for like a bathroom and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't think it's that kind of studio. I think it's like an art studio, like just a little room where you go and like do art, like not like a studio apartment, like where you live.
So where would one go to the bathroom at an art studio? Because it's a high rise.
I don't know. I've never been to an art studio.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, I live with an artist, I know. So it's basically, yes, you're right. It's more like a loft space. But there's always a washroom, you know, to wash like your brushes, or to wash your hands, you know, to get certain things like certain materials off, depending on what medium you're working with. But there always has to be a bathroom. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But that's what I'm picturing personally, is that they were half in, half out. The shadowing was off. I wish that I could just take the picture and like send it all to you, you know, like Bella at the end of Breaking Dawn Part 2, where she lets down her shield and she shows Edward everything she wants him to see and how she feels. Like I wish I could do that to you right now, so you can see what picture I formed in my head of this event.
I wish, because I'm not getting what you're laying down. I'm not seeing.
I'm sorry. I'm so bad at describing things, but I see it. I see it. Please, if anybody else sees it with me, comment on our Instagram post. Okay, Kel, so what are your predictions for the rest of... Actually, no, don't tell me the rest of the book. What are your predictions for chapters 6 through 10?
So I think like the person with the purple shoes, I think they're gonna be dead, not just unconscious or whatever. I think it is Boney Mahoney. We'll see. Like I don't think Cal and Mateo and Ivy are gonna really get in any trouble for it though.
I agree with you. I do believe the person is dead. I really don't want to believe that it's Boney Mahoney, because I want so much more out of this book, but it could be. And that could raise a lot of questions and a lot of motivation on Ivy's part. So that would be interesting. But I do predict that they will get in a little bit of trouble. Maybe not with the authorities, but within their group. Like it'll be, I know Ivy, okay, the way Ivy was described in her feelings, like once they ditched, was me spot on. The anxiety, the whirlwind of possibilities of things that can go wrong. I was like, yes, girl, I'm right there with you. So I think that it's going to be really hard for her to keep her mouth shut. And the other two, like the whole time, are going to have to like tell her to be quiet. Also, I think that it's just going to be a whole bunch of mystery and suspense until the very end, which I'm hoping, because I do like having questions throughout the books, like you had said earlier. I just don't want to be left with any unanswered questions, because then I will be writing reviews and a letter. And if she does not get back to me, I'm going to write 10 more.
Yeah, I think you're right though about Ivy. Like I think she's have the hardest time handling everything and like what she saw, especially the fact that she was the first one to stumble upon whatever the hell they're looking at. Whatever the situation is, she was the one who found it first.
That makes me want to ask this question as well. Was the person already dead and unconscious when she got there? Like, because she was there first. We don't know what she saw when she got in the room. We don't know if that person was already there. We don't know if she had just walked in on them before they OD'd. Like, we don't know. So that's going to be interesting, because is she going to tell them what happened? Is she going to remember? Like, there's so much that could happen within these next chapters that'll set the tone for the rest of the book. But I'm really hoping that we get an answer to my first question of who the heck is Autumn going to see? That's my real question. Like, yes, we just uncovered a dead body, but is she a prostitute?
All that, and you're wondering if like an otherwise minor character is a prostitute.
Yes. Wow. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. I'm wondering too, like I know you said not to make any predictions for the book as a whole, but I wonder like if they're gonna end up staying close again after everything that happens that day, like they did when they did in 6th grade together, or if it's just gonna be like a one-time thing and then they all go their separate ways, like it's the Breakfast Club or something.
I kind of love that trope though. It's interesting to me, like how many authors and in their books they put that trope of like Breakfast Club, all these misfits together, they go on this adventure and then fizzle out like nothing happened. Like, I'm so sick of that, but I'm also so in love with that, because there's just this like mystery of what if they stood friends? What if Ivy and Mateo, got together? And then like I create this whole like other story in my head for them. But I really do hope that they stay friends, if that's even what you were asking.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I hope they stay friends too, because I don't know, I like them as friends so far. Like they're an interesting group.
Yeah, I feel like they all balance each other out.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And that is all for the first episode of 2022.
Which is also the first episode of You'll Be the Death of Me, which is kind of cool that we started off the new year with a new book.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm telling you, I've been waiting for this book to come out, and it's finally here. And I'm trying to dodge spoilers on all social media. So anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Never Too Old for YA. We're excited for the new year. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook at never2old4YA. And you can find us streaming on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Next week, we'll be reading chapters 6 through 10. So if you'd like to follow along, and we'd love to hear from you. What do you think so far of the book? Please no spoilers. Until next time, bye.